Welcome everyone to this explainer. If you've ever felt like you're on a never-ending treadmill, just constantly chasing the next technical skill or certification just to stay relevant, well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're flipping the script entirely. We're going to unpack some truly incredible insights from a guy who went from being a monk in training to, unexpectedly, a major tech CEO, board member, and investor. Through all those wild career pivots, he realized something huge. Long-term success and absolute self-reliance, they do not come from memorizing coding languages or mastering spreadsheet formulas. They actually come from 7 deeply human meta skills. So today, we're going to break down these exact skills and give you a real, practical roadmap to high performance in literally any field. High performance basically boils down to managing 3 foundational relationships. So here is our agenda for today. Number 1, mastering your inner self. Number 2, influencing and building others. Number 3, dealing with objective reality. And finally, number 4, the ultimate meta skill. Let's dive right in. Section 1, mastering your inner self. Now, when we think of high performers, we almost always assume they walk around with this unwavering, superhuman level of confidence, right? But just think about Paul McCartney for a second. This is one of the most famous, successful musicians in human history, casually admitting that he has insecurities just like the rest of us. Or take Serena Williams. She has 23 Grand Slam titles, 2 decades of just total dominance, and she has been incredibly open about her own struggles with self-doubt. So if you're sitting there waiting for success to somehow permanently erase your insecurities, you're kind of looking in the wrong place. True confidence is actually built a lot differently. And this brings us to a really fascinating piece of research from the late 1960s. A Stanford psychologist named Albert Bandura took a group of patients who had a deep, absolutely paralyzing phobia of snakes. He didn't just sit there and talk to them about it. He had them watch someone hold a snake, then take a step closer, then maybe touch it with heavy gloves. Eventually, within just a matter of hours, these terrified patients literally had snakes sitting in their laps. But here's the real breakthrough. It actually wasn't about the snakes at all. Researchers found that once these people overcame this one specific, intense fear, that newfound confidence started spreading like wildfire to completely unrelated areas of their lives. They suddenly started speaking up more, handling difficult conversations, and taking action in places where they had previously just been totally stuck. So what that tells us is confidence isn't just a mood you wake up in. It's actually a form of self-trust, and you have to earn it through proof. We can look at this using what's called the proof pyramid. At the base, you have proof of action. That just means doing one small, hard thing you've been avoiding. Then, in the middle, you have proof of integrity. This is making a tiny promise to yourself and actually keeping it every single day. And at the very top, the most powerful level of all is proof of recovery. This is when you survive a failure or a really embarrassing moment and you bounce back. When your brain sees you survive hard things, it biologically rewires itself to trust you. But there's a catch, right? Getting that proof of recovery means we actually have to face failure. And let's be honest, our brains are notoriously terrible at handling that. Psychologist Martin Seligman identified 3 specific traps our minds fall into whenever we fail at something. First, we make it personal. We tell ourselves there's something fundamentally broken about us. Second, we make it permanent. We convince ourselves that we're just doomed forever. And third, we make it pervasive, meaning we think because we messed up this one specific thing, we're going to fail at absolutely everything else in life. It's really just that loud, annoying inner critic playing tricks on you, trying to keep you small. The ultimate antidote to those mental traps is completely refraining how you look at a misstep. You have to start making what we call useful mistakes. Now, this isn't about being careless or reckless. It's about swinging the bat enough times to actually get real-world feedback. Think about Ed Sheeran. In his early days, he was rejected by basically every major label for being too acoustic, too awkward, just too different. He played tiny gigs and literally got booed off stage. But instead of falling into Seligman's traps, he used those painful moments as useful mistakes. He gathered feedback to refine his act, town after town, show after show. And today, he sells out massive global stadium tours completely solo. Section 2, influencing and building others. Okay, so the biggest hurdle most of us face when interacting with the outside world is the whole concept of selling. And look, whether you're interviewing for a new job, trying to raise capital, or literally just trying to get your teenager off Instagram for 5 minutes, you are selling. The huge misconception here is that selling is about sleazy tactics or mind tricks. If people even slightly sense that they're being tricked, their defenses go up instantly. The reality is that true effective selling is all about credibility and transformation. Notice how great brands like Nike or Apple almost never bore you with the technical specs of their products. They sell a feeling. They sell a better, cooler version of you. To actually do this effectively in your own life, you can use the CARA framework. C stands for curiosity. That means actually focusing on what the other person wants instead of just waiting for your turn to speak. A is for alignment, using your empathy to connect what you have to offer with what they desperately need. R is for reliability, just telling the simple, honest truth about what your idea can and cannot do. And E is for emotion, making them actually feel the future version of themselves. Steve Jobs was an absolute master of this. When he introduced the iPod, he didn't sell a plastic device with a specific gigabyte storage capacity. No, he sold the emotion of having 1,000 songs in your pocket. Facts might make people nod their heads, but feelings are what make people move. Going beyond selling, the absolute highest level of influencing others is actually building them up. I love the story of Bill Campbell for this. He was arguably the most valuable person in the entire history of Silicon Valley. But here's the crazy part. He held no formal tech power, and he didn't even know how to write a single line of code. He was a former college football coach who got fired at age 39. Yet he went on to personally mentor the founders of Google, Apple, Amazon, you name it. Why? Because while all those other geniuses knew how to build complex software, Bill Campbell knew how to build people. Speaking of Google, they actually ran this massive, incredible experiment across 180 of their internal teams to figure out exactly what made the best teams function so well. And the result? It wasn't having the smartest people in the room, and it wasn't about having the highest raw IQs. The one defining trait was psychological safety. This is an environment where people feel completely, 100% safe to speak their minds without any fear of being punished or humiliated. The teams that had psychological safety completely blew the teams packed with individual geniuses out of the water. So how do you actually create that psychological safety in real life, whether you're a leader or just a teammate? Well, you have to give away 3 very specific things. First, give attention. In a world of constant, infinite distraction, giving someone your undivided focus makes them feel incredibly seen. Second, give credit. When things go right, publicly and specifically thank the person who made it happen. And third, give ownership. Let your teammates present the final work. Make them feel like true owners of the outcome, not just background helpers. Because when the people around you grow, you inherently grow faster too. Section 3. Dealing with objective reality. Let's apply all this to the most practical, unavoidable reality of all, money. Warren Buffett is pretty widely considered the greatest investor alive today, worth somewhere around $160 billion. But here's a stat that will blow your mind. 98% of that immense wealth was generated after his 65th birthday. 98%. That just goes to show how fundamentally terrible our human brains are at grasping the reality of long-term compound interest. Because we struggle so much with concepts like compounding, true financial literacy is startlingly rare. In 2021, economists put together this remarkably simple 3-question test covering basic interest, inflation, and risk. We're talking the absolute bare minimum you need to understand how financial reality works. Yet, in the US, over 85% of adults under the age of 35 got at least 1 question wrong. Could you pass it? It's a really expensive kind of ignorance, because reality will absolutely eventually punish you for it. So, to align yourself with financial reality, you simply have to accept 3 undeniable rules. Rule number 1, money compounds over the long term, so you have to be patient. Rule number 2, inflation is going to constantly eat away at your cash, so you literally have to invest just to tread water. And rule number 3, diversification is always safer and frankly better than putting all your eggs in one basket. If you can accept those 3 realities, you'll secure your financial foundation for good. But speaking of reality, there's a massive new one we're all dealing with right now, artificial intelligence. For decades, a lot of us built our careers and our status on just being the smartest, most knowledgeable person in the room. While now, AI has totally commoditized raw intelligence. And don't get me wrong, AI is amazing, but by its very nature, it drives outputs toward the average, and it constantly seeks to confirm our biases just to please us. What AI absolutely cannot do is exercise human judgment. In a world where a machine can instantly spit out 1,000 lines of text or code, your real value lies entirely in your taste, your critical thinking, and your human ability to judge which of those lines actually matters. So, how do you hone that human judgment in the real world? You have to train it through visceral experience, kind of like what experts call the firefighter's gut. Think about it.
A veteran firefighter develops this incredible, life-saving intuition, but they don't get it by sitting in a classroom reading books. They get it because a burning building gives immediate, unforgiving, and brutally honest feedback. You can only truly trust your gut and your judgment when you intentionally put yourself in environments where reality gives you fast, honest feedback on every decision you make.
Section 4, the ultimate meta skill. Okay, I want you to picture all the skills we've talked about today as a bunch of restless chickens just running around wildly in a barn. If you just stand still and do nothing, they are absolutely going to run right past you, squawking the whole time. The world is constantly changing the shape of the hills you're trying to climb, and a lot of times we're still busy staring at an outdated map. Therefore, the ultimate meta skill that ties this whole thing together is the ability to constantly learn how to relearn. You have to actively embrace the joy of emptying your cup, letting go of what you think you know, and becoming an eager student all over again, day after day.
And I want to leave you with this final, really powerful thought. Your empathy, your judgment, your true character. These things absolutely cannot be handed to you by reading a book, or by a boss, or by typing a prompt into an AI. You have to quiet all the noise around you, do the hard work, and just let them rise to the surface. So ask yourself right now, what parts of your own potential are you waiting for someone else to hand to you when they've actually been yours all along? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and we will definitely see you next time as we continue to break down the ideas that matter most.